bring the stuff.
15-year-old schoolgirl was fatally stabbed in the neck by her pal's ex-boyfriend in a row over a teddy bear. He then stabbed Elianne while in a fit of white-hot anger. Horrified witnesses rushed to her aid and tried to save her, but the schoolgirl died at the scene a short time later.
On the morning of September 27, 2023, the bustling streets of Croydon, United Kingdom, witnessed an unthinkable tragedy. 15-year-old Elianne Andam, a bright and ambitious schoolgirl with dreams of becoming a criminal barrister, was brutally stabbed on her way to school. What first seemed like an isolated act of violence quickly revealed a chilling tale of revenge, humiliation, and a troubled teenager with a history of violent outbursts. As investigators pieced together the events leading up to that fateful morning, the case exposed a disturbing pattern of unchecked aggression, culminating in a senseless murder that shocked the nation. Welcome to Urban Crime Stories. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Elianne Andam was born in 2008 and grew up in Croydon, a town in South London. At just 15 years old, she was a bright and ambitious schoolgirl with dreams of becoming a criminal barrister. Her aspiration was driven by a strong sense of justice and a deep commitment to helping others. Those who knew Elianne described her as charismatic and intelligent, someone who carried herself with confidence and warmth. She had a natural ability to bring people together, making her a well-liked figure among her peers. Her parents, Dorcas and Michael, worked tirelessly to provide Elianne with the best opportunities in life. Dorcas, an NHS nurse, and Michael, a care home manager, were deeply invested in their daughter's future. Determined to give her the best education possible, they made significant sacrifices to send her to the prestigious Old Palace of John Whitgift, an independent girls' school known for its academic excellence. They believed in Elianne's potential and wanted to equip her with every tool she needed to succeed. In contrast, Hassan Sentamu's life took a different course. Born in Uganda in 2006, he spent his early years there before joining his mother in the United Kingdom at the age of 5. His mother had fled Uganda, seeking refuge from alleged domestic abuse at the hands of his father. Adjusting to life in a new country was not without its challenges, and while Hassan eventually found friends in Croydon, his upbringing was marked by difficulties that shaped his outlook on life. Despite living in the same town and having mutual friends, Elianne and Hassan were on vastly different paths. While Elianne was focused on her studies and had the unwavering support of her family, Hassan's circumstances were more complicated. The contrast in their lives was stark, one filled with structured ambition and another shaped by instability. Yet their lives would ultimately intersect in a way no one could have foreseen. Hassan Sentamu's troubling behavior had surfaced early in his school years. At just 12 years old, he was caught bringing a knife into the classroom, a disturbing sign of what was to come. Over the years, his actions grew increasingly violent and erratic. He was transferred from one school to another as incidents of self-harm and unprovoked attacks on other students escalated. His unpredictable nature made him a source of fear among peers and teachers alike. Despite multiple interventions, his behavior continued to spiral out of control, setting the stage for the events that would later unfold. By September 2023, Hassan was in a relationship with one of Elianne's friends, but their relationship had reached its breaking point. The young couple had agreed to meet on the morning of September 27th to formally end things before heading to school. What should have been a simple farewell, however, was complicated by an earlier confrontation. The day before, tensions between Hassan and the group of girls had erupted in public, fueled by the way he had callously ended his relationship with his girlfriend. That confrontation took place outside the card factory store in the Whitgift shopping center. Hassan found himself cornered by the girls, who mocked him for his behavior. To further humiliate him, they squirted water at him, laughing at his reaction. The incident bruised his ego and left him humiliated in a way he was not willing to tolerate. In the immediate aftermath, he called a friend, his voice filled with anger and resentment. "I can't let this slide," he warned, a chilling statement that hinted at his next move. Despite his rage, Hassan initially appeared to take a measured approach. Instead of lashing out immediately, he made plans to meet his ex-girlfriend the following morning. His reasoning seemed practical. He would return each other's belongings, close this chapter, and move on. To those around him, it seemed like an attempt at maturity, a rare display of control from someone prone to violent outbursts. However, beneath this calm facade, a far more dangerous plan was taking shape. As the morning of September 27th approached, Elianne was unaware that the situation was far from over. While she and her friends went about their routine, preparing for school, Hassan was making his own preparations. The meeting that was supposed to bring closure to a teenage breakup would instead become the setting for an unthinkable tragedy. Elianne's friend, eager to retrieve a cherished teddy bear from her ex-boyfriend, agreed to meet Hassan as planned. Wanting to ensure a clean break, she carefully packed his belongings into a plastic bag, expecting a simple exchange. However, while she prepared for closure, Hassan was preparing for something far more sinister. Instead of gathering his ex-girlfriend's items, he reached for a kitchen knife, slipping it into his pocket. He pulled on gloves and a mask, concealing his identity, and set off toward the shopping center by bus. His mind was no longer on a breakup. He was focused on revenge. When Hassan arrived at the meeting spot, he came empty-handed, offering nothing in return for the bag of his possessions. Without warning, he snatched the plastic bag from his ex-girlfriend's grasp, an aggressive move that startled her and the friends who had accompanied her. Elianne, unwilling to let him get away with such blatant disrespect, instinctively intervened. She grabbed the bag back from Hassan, standing up for her friend as she always did. But the moment she turned to run, everything changed. Hassan, driven by rage and humiliation, reacted without hesitation. The gangly teenage boy took off after Elianne, chasing her into a corner near the shopping center. Trapped with nowhere to escape, she became the target of his unrelenting fury. In a horrifying moment of violence, Hassan plunged the knife into her neck repeatedly, his attack brutal and swift. One of the strikes drove the blade 12 centimeters deep, severing her carotid artery, a fatal wound that left her with no chance of survival. It was 8:30 a.m. on a busy Wednesday morning. The streets around the shopping center were bustling with commuters, school children, and shoppers beginning their day. As the attack unfolded, onlookers froze in shock, helplessly watching the horrific scene play out in front of them. Some screamed, some ran for help, but there was nothing anyone could do. Within moments, Elianne collapsed to the ground, bleeding profusely as life slipped away from her. Paramedics arrived quickly, fighting to save the young schoolgirl, but the injuries were too severe. Less than an hour later, Elianne was pronounced dead at the scene. The girl who had once dreamed of defending justice had become the victim of a senseless act of violence. Her life was stolen in an instant, all over a petty grudge and a teddy bear. 3 weeks before Elianne's murder, Hassan Sentamu revealed a chilling glimpse into his troubled mind. In a message to a friend, he confessed that he was contemplating suicide, writing, "The real me is evil, dark, and miserable." It was a haunting admission that hinted at the turmoil brewing beneath his surface. While many teenagers struggled with emotions, Hassan's thoughts were consumed by violence and darkness. His fascination with blades was not new. It had been escalating for years, and those around him had already witnessed disturbing signs of his growing obsession. His violent tendencies had been evident long before that tragic morning in Croydon. In 2019, while still a young schoolboy, Hassan's fixation with weapons led to a terrifying incident during a school trip. Armed with a knife, he threatened a fellow student, terrifying classmates and teachers alike. It was not an isolated event. On a separate occasion, he attacked another classmate with a pair of scissors he had stolen from a teacher's desk, further demonstrating his unpredictable and dangerous nature. Despite these alarming outbursts, Hassan's behavior continued unchecked. Each incident seemed to escalate in severity, yet he remained in the school system, moving from one institution to another as his violent tendencies worsened. His disturbing actions raised red flags, but whatever interventions were attempted failed to curb his dangerous impulses. Instead of receiving the structured help he needed, he drifted further into a mindset dominated by anger, revenge, and destruction. Eventually, his actions caught up with him. Shortly after one of his violent attacks, Hassan was arrested, bringing temporary relief to those who had feared him.
Back now. Oh, right. Listen. Oh, no, listen, you're on camera. Listen, you're on camera. Right now. I didn't even do nothing, bro. Put your hands right there. Put me on.
Even while on remand at Oak Hill Secure Training Center, awaiting trial for Elianne Andam's murder, Hassan's violent nature remained unchecked. His aggression continued behind bars, showing no remorse for his actions. When another inmate mentioned Elianne's killing, Hassan erupted in fury, issuing a chilling threat. "Do you want to end up like her, 6 feet under? I'll do the same again." His words revealed his complete lack of empathy and a disturbing willingness to repeat his crime. Instead of showing regret, he seemed to relish the fear he could still instill in others. As his trial approached, Hassan attempted to shift responsibility for his actions. He admitted to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility, but denied murder, claiming that his autism caused him to lose control. It was a desperate attempt to avoid full accountability, an argument designed to paint himself as someone incapable of understanding his own actions. However, this defense was quickly dismantled by experts who had examined his mental state. A forensic psychiatrist who interviewed him rejected the claim outright, concluding that Hassan had been fully aware of what he was doing. His actions, the psychiatrist insisted, were not the result of an uncontrollable episode, but a calculated act of vengeance against the girls who had humiliated him. Hassan's behavior in the immediate aftermath of the attack further proved his guilt. He did not break down in confusion or distress. He ran. Fleeing the crime scene as bystanders rushed to help Elianne, he quickly disposed of the murder weapon, ensuring that it could not be easily found. He also had the awareness to manipulate his phone settings, changing them to withhold his number before making a 7-minute call to a friend. His actions in those critical moments were not those of someone who had lost control, but of someone who was thinking ahead, covering his tracks. When police tracked him down 90 minutes after the attack, Hassan's first instinct was to lie.
King Henry's, mate, just past the speed camera. You just drove past you. I've got him. No, you can't do anything at the moment, mate. You're going to be searched down section 32. Where's the knife?
I don't have.
Where's the knife?
He gave officers a fake name, calling himself John, in a crude attempt to deceive them. Even as they questioned him, he refused to disclose the true location of the knife he had used to kill Elianne, further obstructing the investigation. His actions were deliberate and deceptive, further reinforcing the argument that he had known exactly what he was doing before, during, and after the attack. On January 16, 2025, after weeks of harrowing testimony and overwhelming evidence, the jury at the Old Bailey found Hassan Sentamu guilty of murder by a majority verdict. His attempt to claim diminished responsibility had failed, and the court had seen through his defense. The verdict brought some measure of justice for Elianne Andam's grieving family, who had endured the painful details of her final moments throughout the trial. Though no sentence could undo the tragedy, the conviction ensured that Hassan would be held fully accountable for his actions. Hassan's trial was marked by compelling evidence that left little doubt about his intent. CCTV footage captured his movements before and after the attack, showing him methodically preparing for the crime, then fleeing the scene in an effort to escape justice. Witness testimonies painted a clear picture of the events that unfolded that morning: the moment he chased down Elianne, the brutal stabbing, and the horror that followed. Expert psychiatric evaluations further discredited his claims of losing control, instead confirming that his actions were driven by calculated revenge. Following the guilty verdict, Hassan Sentamu was sentenced to life imprisonment, with the minimum term to be determined at a later date. The severity of his punishment would reflect the premeditated nature of his crime and the senseless brutality with which he had taken Elianne's life. Though he was just 17 at the time of the murder, the court recognized the gravity of his actions and the lasting impact of his crime. There would be no leniency for the boy who had shown no remorse. For Elianne's family, the sentencing brought a small measure of closure, though the pain of losing their beloved daughter would never fade. They had fought for justice in her name, ensuring that the boy who had so cruelly taken her life would not be free to harm anyone else. What are your thoughts on this tragic case? Do you believe justice was served in holding Hassan Sentamu accountable? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you on Urban Crime Stories.